A man pulled a drowning German shepherd from the river believing he had just saved a life. But rescue quickly turned into terror. Within moments, relief gave way to fear, and the night revealed secrets more sinister than the current itself. Survival was only the beginning of the nightmare. The sun was sinking low on the horizon, painting the river with streaks of gold and crimson. The man had been walking along the bank, enjoying the quiet evening air, when a sudden splash shattered the calm. He froze. In the middle of the rushing current, something was struggling violently. At first, he thought it was debris being dragged by the flow, but then, through the spray of water, he saw it. A German shepherd, its legs thrashing desperately, head dipping beneath the surface. The animal was drowning. His heart pounded. Without a second thought, he kicked off his boots and sprinted forward. The icy water hit him like knives, pulling at his body, but he pushed through with powerful strokes. "Hold on," he shouted, though he knew the dog couldn't understand. Every second felt like an eternity. The shepherd's movements slowed, its body weakening. Just as the river threatened to drag them both under, the man lunged forward and grabbed the dog's collar. With every ounce of strength, he pulled the animal toward the shore. They collapsed onto the muddy bank, both gasping for air. The man lay beside the trembling shepherd, drenched and exhausted. For a moment, it seemed like he had won. The man lay flat on the ground, his chest heaving, water dripping from his clothes. Beside him, the German shepherd coughed violently, expelling river water in harsh bursts. For a brief moment, relief washed over him. The dog was alive. Against all odds, he had saved it. He reached out with trembling hands, gently patting the shepherd's soaked fur. "You're safe now," he whispered, a faint smile breaking through his exhaustion. The animal's sides rose and fell with heavy breaths, its eyes half shut as if drifting between life and death. But then, something shifted. The shepherd's eyes flickered open, glowing strangely in the fading light. Its body tensed, lips curling back into a low growl. The sound wasn't of gratitude, it was raw, primal, unsettling. The man froze, confusion tightening in his chest. This wasn't the reaction he expected at all. The shepherd staggered too, its feet dripping wet, its chest rising and falling in ragged breaths. Instead of curling up beside the man or showing signs of trust, it began pacing in tight circles, claws scraping against the muddy bank. Its ears shot up, eyes darting wildly as if it sensed something invisible. The man pushed himself upright, shivering from the cold water. "Easy, boy. It's okay," he murmured, stretching out a hand. But the dog didn't calm. It barked sharply into the empty air, then snapped its jaws at nothing, teeth clashing in the silence of dusk. Confusion prickled through him. Dogs barked at threats, but there was no one around, no figures, no movement, just the rush of the river. Then his eyes caught something unsettling. Thin, jagged cuts along the shepherd's flank. They weren't the scrapes of drowning. They looked deeper, like claw marks. The man's stomach tightened. The dog growled again, this time facing the darkening water, its fur bristling, tail stiff. A low guttural sound rumbled from its throat. It wasn't afraid. It was warning him. Something was still out there. The man followed the shepherd's gaze back to the river. The surface rippled unnaturally, even though the wind had gone still. A low hum seemed to rise from the water, almost like whispers carried on the current. He rubbed his ears, convinced it was just exhaustion playing tricks. But the dog knew better. With a sudden snarl, the shepherd lunged forward, nearly yanking free from the man's grasp. Its claws tore into the mud as it barked furiously, straining toward the water. The sound wasn't panic, it was desperation. Then he saw it. A dark shape glided beneath the surface, just out of reach of the fading light. At first he thought it was driftwood, but the longer he stared, the more it moved against the current. Alive, deliberate, circling. His chest tightened. The shepherd jerked violently, dragging him closer to the edge, paws splashing into the shallows. "What is it?" the man shouted, his voice trembling. The shape vanished suddenly, swallowed by the darkening river. Silence pressed in. Only the dog's growl filled the air, low and unrelenting. The realization hit him like ice. The shepherd hadn't fallen by accident. Something had dragged it under. Without warning, the shepherd tore away from the riverbank and bolted into the trees. Its wet fur glistened under the pale light as it disappeared into the shadows. "Wait!" the man shouted, scrambling to his feet. Adrenaline pushed away the exhaustion, and he chased after the dog, heart hammering. Branches whipped against his arms and face. The forest was alive with unsettling sounds. The crunch of leaves, the frantic rustle ahead, his own ragged breaths echoing in the dark. The shepherd's bark rang out in bursts, sharp and urgent, guiding him deeper into the woods. The man stumbled, nearly falling over a root, before the barking suddenly stopped. Silence. His stomach twisted. He pushed through the undergrowth, chest burning, and then froze. The ground ahead was disturbed, patches of earth uneven, clawed at as though something had been hastily buried. Moonlight revealed shapes, shallow mounds lined side by side, graves. A chill surged down his spine. The shepherd stood rigid at the edge of the site, growling low, its gaze fixed on the soil. The man's breath caught. Whoever had been pulling at that river had left their victims here. The man's pulse thundered in his ears as he stared at the disturbed soil. His breath came in shallow gasps, the silence pressing down heavier than the night itself. Then, snap. A twig cracked behind him. He spun around. The shepherd was already snarling, teeth bared, body crouched low in a defensive stance. From the shadows, slow footsteps emerged, deliberate and unhurried. The man's throat tightened. He wasn't alone. A figure stepped into the pale wash of moonlight. Tall, broad-shouldered, face obscured beneath a hood. The man's stomach dropped. This wasn't just an accident site, it was a hunting ground. The stranger's eyes glinted coldly. "You shouldn't be here," he growled, voice rough and edged with menace. The shepherd barked furiously, lunging forward, while the man staggered back, torn between fight and flight. The forest, once silent, now felt like a trap closing in. The hooded figure lunged, a flash of metal glinting in his hand. The man stumbled backward, panic flooding his veins. Before the blade could strike, the shepherd hurled itself between them, teeth sinking deep into the attacker's arm. A guttural scream tore through the night. The struggle was brutal. Snarls, shouts, the smell of blood thick in the air. The dog fought with everything it had, but the man knew it couldn't last. Grabbing a heavy branch, he swung wildly, knocking the attacker off balance. Clutching the wounded shepherd, he fled blindly through the trees, heart pounding with terror. The man burst out of the forest, lungs burning, cradling the wounded shepherd in his arms. Streetlights glowed faintly in the distance, safety finally within reach. He flagged down help, and soon the dog was rushed to a vet. Hours later, the news came. The shepherd would survive. Authorities uncovered the graves and captured the attacker, exposing the river's horrifying secrets. The man sat beside the recovering dog, stroking its bandaged fur. "I thought I saved you," he whispered, softly. The shepherd's tail thumped weakly against the table, "but the truth is, you saved me."